the 3rd week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make error and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons' sons. And he prayed before the Lord his God, and said, God of the spirits of all flesh, who have shown mercy unto me, and have saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and have not caused me to perish as you did the sons of perdition. For your grace has been great towards me, and great has been your mercy to my soul. Let your grace be lifted up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But do you bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And you know how your watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of your servant and my God, for these are malignant and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for they alone can because you alone can exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from now on and forevermore. And the Lord our God bade us to bind all. And the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment, for great is the wickedness of the sons of men. And he said, Let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive for righteousness. And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation, and a 10th part of them we left, and they might be subject before Satan on earth. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with herbs of the earth. And Noah wrote down all things in a book, as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah. And he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers, and was buried in Mount Lebar, in the land of Ararat. 950 years he completed his life, 19 jubilees in 2 weeks and 5 years. And in his life on earth he excelled the children of men, save Enoch, because of his righteousness, wherein he was perfect. For Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to the generations of the world, so that he should recount all the deeds of generation unto generation, until the day of judgment. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They used brick instead of stone, and tar for mortar. Then they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves, otherwise we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. This is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. Now the sons of Noah were three, Shem, Japhet, and Ham. Born 100 years before the deluge, these first of all descended from the mountain into the plains and fixed their habitations there, and persuaded others who were greatly afraid of the lower grounds on account of the floods, and so were very loath to come down from the higher place to venture to follow their examples. Now the plain in which they first dwelt was called Shinar. God also commanded them to send colonies abroad for the thorough peopling of the earth, that they might not raise seditions among each themselves, but might cultivate a great part of the earth and enjoy its fruits after a plentiful manner. But they were so ill instructed that they did not obey God, for which reason they fell into calamities, and were made sensible by experience of what sin they had been guilty. For when they flourished with the numerous youth, God admonished them again to send out colonies, but they, imagining the prosperity they enjoyed was not derived from the favor of God, but supposing their own power was the proper cause of the plentiful condition they were in, did not obey him. Nay, they added to their disobedience to the divine will the suspicion that they were therefore ordered to send out separate colonies, that being divided asunder they might the more easily be oppressed. Now it was Nimrod who excited them to such an affront and contempt of God. He was the grandson of Ham, who was the son of Noah, a bold man and of great strength of hand. He persuaded them not to ascribe it to God as if it was through his means they were happy, but to believe that it was their own courage which procured that happiness. He also gradually changed the government into tyranny, seeing no other way of turning men from the fear of God but to bring them into a constant dependence upon his power. He also said he would be revenged on God if he should have a mind to drown the world again, for that he would build a tower too high for the waters to be able to reach, and that he would avenge himself on God for destroying their forefathers. Now the multitude were very ready to follow the determination of Nimrod, and to esteem it a piece of cowardice to submit to God. And they built a tower, neither sparing any pains nor being in any degree negligent about the work, and by reason of the magnitude of hands employed in it, it grew very high sooner than anyone could expect. But the thickness of it was so great, and it was so strongly built, that thereby its great height seemed upon the view to be less than it really was. It was built of burnt brick cemented together with mortar made of bitumen, that it might not be liable to admit water. When God saw that they acted so madly, he did not resolve to destroy them utterly, since they were not growing wiser by the destruction of the former sinners. But he caused a tumult among them by producing in them divers languages, and causing that through the multitude of those languages they should not be able to understand one another. The place wherein they built the tower is now called Babylon, because of the confusion of that language, which they readily understood before, for the Hebrews mean by the word Babel confusion. And in the 35th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, in the 1st year thereof, Ruth took to himself a wife, and her name was Orah, the daughter of the son of Keshed. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Sarah, in the 7th year of this week in this Jubilee. And the sons of Noah began to war on each other, to take captive and to slay each other, and to shed the blood of men on the earth, and to eat blood, and to build strong cities and walls, and towers, and individuals began to exalt themselves above the nation, and to found the beginnings of kingdoms, and to go to war, people against people, and nation against nation, and city against city. And all began to do evil, and to acquire arms, and to teach their sons war. And they began to capture cities, and to sell male and female slaves. And the son of Kesed, built the city of Ara, of the Chaldees, and called its name after his own name, and the name of his father. And they made for themselves molten images, and they worshipped each the idol, and the molten image which they had made for themselves, and they began to make graven images, and unclean sepulchra, and malignant spirits assisted and seduced them into committing transgression and uncleanness. And the spirit of Mastema exerted himself to do all this, and he sent out other spirits, those which were put under his hand, to do all manner of wrong and sin, and all manner of transgression, to corrupt and destroy, and to shed blood upon the earth. For this reason he called the name of Sarah Sarig, for everyone turned to do all manner of sin and transgression. And he grew up and dwelt in in the Chaldees, near to the father of his wife's mother, and he worshipped idols. And he took to himself a wife in the 36th Jubilee of the 5th week, in the 1st year thereof, and her name was Milcah, the daughter of Cubber, the daughter of his father's brother. And she bore him to her in the 1st year of this week, and he grew and dwelt in of the Chaldees. And his father taught him the researches of the Chaldees, to divine and augur according to the signs of heaven. And in the 37th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the 1st year thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Ijaska, the daughter of Nastag of the Chaldees. And she bore him Terah in the 7th year of this week. And the prince Mastema sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land, in order to destroy the land, and rob the children of men of their labors. Before they could plow in the seed, the ravens picked it from the surface of the ground. And for this reason he called his name Terah, because the ravens and the birds reduced them to destitution, and devoured their seed. And the years began to be barren, owing to the birds, that they devoured all the fruit of the trees from the trees. It was only with great effort that they could save a little of all the fruit of the earth in these days. And in the 39th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 1st year, Terah took to himself a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his father's sister. And in the 7th year of this week she bore him a son, and he called his name Abram, by the name of the father of his mother, for he had died before his daughter had conceived a son. And the child began to understand the errors of the earth, that all went astray after graven images and after uncleanness, and his father taught him writing. And he was 2 weeks of years old, and he separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols with him. And he began to pray to the Creator of all things, that he might save him from the errors of the children of men, and that this portion should not fall into error after uncleanness and vileness. And the seed time came for the sowing of seed upon the land, and they all went out together to protect their seed against the ravens. And Abram went out with those that went, and the child was a lad of 14 years. And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed. And Abram ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried out to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, Descend not, return to the place where you came. And they proceeded to turn back. And he caused the clouds of ravens to turn back that day 70 times. And of all the ravens throughout all the land where Abram was, there settled there not so much as one. And all who were with him throughout the land saw him cry out, and all the ravens turned back, and his name became great in all the land of the Chaldees. And there came to him this year all those who wished to sow, and he went with them until the time of sowing ceased. And they sowed their land, and that year they brought enough grain home, and ate and were satisfied. And in the first year of the 5th week, Abram taught those who made implements for oxen and artificers in wood, that they made a vessel above the ground, facing the frame of the plow, in order to put the seed thereon. And the seed fell down therefrom upon the share of the plow, and was hidden in the earth. And they no longer feared the ravens. And after this manner they made vessels above the ground on all the frames of the plows. And they sowed and tilled all the land according as Abram commanded them, and they no longer feared the birds. This is the account of Terah's family line. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran, and Haran became the father of Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans in the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was childless because she was not able to conceive. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. And in the 6th week, in the 5th year thereof, Abram sat up throughout the night on the new moon of the 7th month to observe the stars from the evening to the morning, in order to see what would be that character of the year with regard to the rains. And he was alone as he sat and observed. And a word came into his heart, and he said, All the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and of the sun are all in the hand of the Lord. Why do I search them out? If he desires, he causes it to rain, morning and evening, and if he desires, he withholds it, and all things are in his hand. And he prayed that night and said, My God, God Most High, you alone are my God, and you and your dominion have I chosen. And you have created all things, and all things that are the work of your hands. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from you, my God. and establish you me and my seed forever, that we may not stray from now and forevermore. And he said, Shall I return unto Ur of the Chaldees, who seek my face, that I may return to them, or am I to remain here in this place? The right path before you, prosper it in the hands of your servant, that he may fulfill it, and that I may not walk in the deceitfulness of my heart, O my God. And he made an end of speaking and praying, and behold, the word of the Lord was sent to him through me, saying, Get you up from your country, and from your kindred, and from the house of your father, unto the land which I shall show you. And I shall make you a great and numerous nation. And I shall bless you, and I shall make your name great, and you will be blessed in the earth, and in you will all families of the earth be blessed. And I shall bless them that bless you, and curse them that curse you. And I shall be a God to you and your son, and to your son's son, and to all your seed. Fear not, from now and until all generations of the earth, I am your God. And the Lord God said, Open his mouth and his ears, that he may hear and speak with his mouth, with the language which has been revealed. For it had ceased from the mouths of all children of men from the day of the overthrow of Babel. And I opened his mouth and his ears and his lips, and I began to speak to him in Hebrew, in the tongue of the creation. And he took the books of his fathers, and those were written in Hebrew, and he transcribed them, and he began from them to study them, and made known to him that which he could not understand. And he studied them during the 6 rainy months. And it came to pass in the 7th year of the 6th week that he spoke to his father, and informed him that he would leave Haran to go into the land of Canaan, to see it and return to him. And Terah his father said unto him, Go in peace, may the eternal God make your path straight, and the Lord be with you, and protect you from all evil, and grant unto you grace, mercy, and favor before those who see you, and may none of the children of men have power over you to harm you. Go in peace. And if you see a land pleasant to your eyes to dwell in, then arise and take me to you, and take Lot with you, the son of Haran, your brother, as your own son. The Lord be with you. And Nahar, your brother, leave with me until you return in peace, and we go with you all together. And Abram journeyed from Haran, and he took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother Haran's son, to the land of Canaan. And he came to Assur, and proceeded to Shechem, and dwelt near a lofty oak. And he saw, and behold, the land was very pleasant, from the entering of Hamath to the lofty oak. And the Lord said to him, To you and to your seed will I give this land. And he built an altar there, and he offered thereon a burnt sacrifice to the Lord, who had appeared to him. And he left from there unto the mountain with Bethel on the west, and Ai on the east, and pitched the tent there. And he saw, and behold, the land was very wide and good, and everything grew thereon, vines and figs, and pomegranates, oaks, and ilexes, and tree briths, and oil trees, and cedars, and cypresses, and date trees, and all trees of the field, and there was water on the mountains. And he blessed the Lord, who had led him out of Ur of the Chaldees, and had brought him to this land. The Lord had said to Abram, Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make into you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. and I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran. And they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Morah to Shechem, at the time of the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there and to the Lord who appeared to him. From there he went on towards the hills east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram set out and continued towards the Negev. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you." When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarai was a very beautiful woman, and went to Pharaoh's officials. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abraham well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. "What have you done to me?" he said. "Why did you tell me she was your wife? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and go." Then the Pharaoh gave orders about Abram to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had. I will now treat of the Hebrews. The son of Phaleg, whose father was Heber, was Ragu, whose son was Serug, to whom was born Nahor. His son was Terah, who was the father of Abraham, who accordingly was the 10th from Noah, and was born in the 292nd year after the deluge. For Terah begot Abram in the 17th year. Nahor begot Haran when he was 120 years old. Nahor was born to Serug in his 132nd year, Ragu and Serug at 130, at the same age as Phaleg and Ragu. Heber begot Phaleg in his 134th year, and he himself being begotten by Salah when he was 130 years old. Now Abraham had two brethren, Nahor and Haran. Of these Haran left a son, Lot, as also Sarai and Melecha his daughters, and died among the Chaldeans in a city of the Chaldeans called Ur, and his monument is shown to this day. These married their nieces. Nahor married Milcah, and Abram married Sarai. Now Terah hated Sheldah on account of his mourning of Haran. They all moved to Haran in Mesopotamia, where Terah died and was buried. when he had lived to be 205 years old. For the life of a man was already by degrees diminishing, and become shorter than before, till the birth of Moses, after whom the term of human life was 120 years. God, determining it to be the length of Moses' life, happened to live. Now Abram, having no son of his own, adopted Lot, his brother Haran's son, and his wife Sarai's brother. And he left the land of Chaldea when he was 75 years old, and at the command of God went into Canaan. And therein he dwelt himself, and left it to his posterity. He was a person of great sagacity, both for understanding all things and persuading his hearers, and not mistaken in his opinions. For which reason he began to have higher notions of virtue than others had, and he determined to renew and to change the opinion of all men. All men happened then to have concerning God. For he was the first that ventured to publish this notion, that there was but one God, the creator of the universe, and that as to the other gods, if they contributed anything to the happiness of men, that each of them afforded it only according to his appointment, and not by their own power. This his opinion was derived from the irregular phenomena that were visible both at land and sea, as well as those that happen to the sun and the moon, and all the heavenly bodies. Thus, if, he said, these bodies had power of their own, they would certainly take care of their own regular motions. But since they do not preserve such regularity, they make it plain that in so far as they cooperate to our advantage, they do it not at their own abilities, but as they are subservient to him that commands them, to whom alone we ought justly to offer our honor and thanksgiving. For which doctrines, when the Chaldeans and other people of Mesopotamia raised a tumult against him, he thought fit to leave the country, and at the command and by the assistance of God, he came and lived in the land of Canaan. And when he was there settled, he built an altar and performed a sacrifice to God. Josephus mentioned our father Abraham without naming him, when he says thus: in the 10th generation after the flood, there was among the Chaldeans a man righteous and great, and skillful in the celestial science. But Antiquities does more than barely mention him, for he composed and left behind him a book concerning him. And Nicholas of Damascus, in the 4th book of his history, says thus: Abraham reigned at Damascus, being a foreigner, who came with an army out of the land above Babylon, called the land of the Chaldeans. But after a long time he got him up, and removed from the country also with his people, and went into the land then called the land of Canaan, but now the land of Judea. And this when his posterity were become a multitude, as to which posterity of his we relate their history in another work. Now the name of Abram is even still famous in the country of Damascus, and there is shown a village named from him, the habitation of Abram. Now after this, when a famine had invaded the land of Canaan, and Abram had discovered that the Egyptians were in a flourishing condition, he was disposed to go down to them, both to partake of the plenty they enjoyed, and to become an auditor of their priests, and to know what they said concerning the gods, designing either to follow them if they had better notions than he, or convert them into better way. It was if his own notions proved the truest. Now seeing he was to take Sarai with him, and was afraid of the madness of the Egyptians, with regard to women, lest the king should kill him on occasion of his wife's great beauty, he contrived this device. He pretended to be her brother, and directed her in a dissembling way to pretend the same, for he said it would be for their benefit. Now as soon as he came into Egypt, it happened to Abram as he supposed it would. For the fame of his wife's beauty was greatly talked of, for which reason Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, would not be satisfied with what was reported of her, but would needs see her himself, and was preparing to enjoy her. But God put a stop to this unjust inclinations by sending upon him a distemper and a sedition among his government. And when he inquired of his priests how he might be freed from these calamities, they told him that it was his miserable condition was derived from the wrath of God upon account of his inclination to abuse the stranger's wife. He then out of fear asked Sarai who she was, and who it was that she brought along with her. And when he had found out the truth, he excused himself to Abram, that supposing the woman to be his sister and not his wife, he set his affections on her, as desiring an affinity with him by marrying her, but not as inclined by lust to abuse her. He also made him a large present of money, and gave him leave to enter into conversation with the most learned among the Egyptians, from which conversation his virtue and his reputation became more conspicuous than they had been before. For whereas the Egyptians were formerly addicted to different customs, and despised one another's sacred and accomplished rites, and were very angry one with another on that account, Abram conferred with each of them, and confuting the reasoning they made use of, every one of their own practices demonstrated that such reasoning were vain and void of truth. Whereupon he was admired by them in those conferences as a very wise man, and one of great sagacity. When he discoursed on the subject he undertook, and this not only in understanding it, but in persuading other men also to ascend to him, and communicating to them arithmetic, and delivered to them the science of astronomy. For before Abram came unto Egypt, they were unacquainted with these parts of learning, for that science came from the Chaldeans into Egypt, and from thence to the Greeks also.